Hey everybody, Miss Dietrich here. We're going to take a look at how do you solve two-step equations and inequalities. So I put the first one on a Smart Notebook file, and I rewrote it because I'm not a big fan of this format. So we're looking at 1/3 times some number plus 2 equals 6. Now we always have the option when it's a multiple choice to just substitute in the value and see which one makes it true. But sometimes you don't have that option. You really need to know the actual algebraic process to solving just in case you don't have multiple choice. So let's go through that process. The first thing you want to look for is you want to find the variable, and you want to find, if it's a two-step, you want to see if there's an add or subtract operation on the same side. And we have this idea of add 2. We want to apply the inverse operation to that. So if we take 2 off of this side of the equation to keep it balanced, we're going to take 2 off of this side of the equation. All right, everything that's in this yellow circle will cancel out. But this, we just have to do the math. What's 6 minus 2? We get a 4. And let's bring down what's left on this side. We have a 1/3 a. All right, so this should look a little more familiar to you. This means 1/3 times some number equals 4. Whenever you have a fraction coefficient, we want to think about reciprocals. What's the reciprocal of 1/3? And it would be 3/1 or 3. Same thing. Put that over here to keep it balanced. All of this cancels out. We get 1, and 1 times a is a. So the only thing left you have to do to finish this up is just find what 4 times 3 is, and you'll have the answer to that. All right, let's look at question number 2. It says solve 7p minus 5 equals 44. So let's rewrite it so we have some workspace. 7p minus 5 equals 44. All right, so we look for the variable. Here it is. We look for the add or subtract on the same side of the equation as the variable. Here it is. And we ask ourselves, what's the opposite of that? And the opposite of that is to add 5 to both sides of the equation to keep it balanced. All right, so what happens to all of this? It cancels out. And we have to do the math here. 44 plus 5 would give us 49. We'll bring down what's on the other side of the equation, which is right here, the 7p. All right, to solve this means 7 times some number equals 49. We apply the inverse operation. What's the opposite of multiply a variable by 7? It would be to divide it by 7. This cancels out. You bring down the p. And the only thing left you have to do is do 49 divided by 7, and you'll have your answer for number 2. All right, let's look at number 3. Now this one is an inequality, so that makes this a little bit different. So they give us this inequality. Let's write it down. 2x plus 7 is less than 9. So we're going to solve this using the same approach that we did with equations, only we should graph our result at the end so we can pick which numbers are actually going to make this inequality true. All right, so same protocol. You look for the add or subtract on the same side as the variable. So we think what's the opposite of add 7? It would be subtract 7. And we subtract 7 from both sides to keep it balanced. This all cancels out. We bring down the 2x. We bring down, carefully copying so that you don't mess up the symbol. It's the less than symbol. And we'll subtract the 9 minus 7 and get 2. All right, so when you get to this point, find the variable, find out what's happening to it. It's being multiplied by 2. And ask yourself, what's the opposite of multiplied by 2? Wouldn't it be to divide by 2 when we have to do that on both sides to keep it balanced? All right, this all cancels out, right? If we divide 2 divided by 2, we get 1. And if we do 1 times x, we get x. So the only thing left you have to do is figure out what 2 divided by 2 is. And then we're going to actually, why don't we do this together? 2 divided by 2 would be 1. All right, but that's not what we're going to pick, because some of you are going to fall for that and you're going to say, oh, I see the answer. But remember, this is an inequality, so we probably should graph that. Let's make a number line. Let's put the number 1 on it. And let's remind ourselves that x would have to be less than 1. So that means 1 is not considered part of the solution because we don't have the or equal sign underneath. So if we're talking about numbers that are less than 1, we're talking about numbers that are to the left on a number line. So which numbers do we have here are left on a number line to the number 1? So don't pick 1 because 1 is not included in the set. 1 is not less than 1, so that's incorrect. Do not pick that. All right, so now let's look at number 4. Similar situation where we have a lot of numbers to choose from. So let's write down, it's a little small. Maybe I can make that a little bit bigger. Make it just a touch bigger. All right, so the inequality is, let's write it a little bit larger so we can all see it. It's 3 times b plus 8, and all of that is greater than 14. All right, so the same idea where we look for the variable, you look for the add or subtract that's on the same side of the variable and apply the inverse operation to that. So the opposite of add 8 is going to be subtract 8. We'll do that to both sides. Everything in this yellow circle cancels out. We'll bring down the 3b. We'll carefully bring down our symbol here, the greater than symbol, and we'll carefully subtract these two values and get 6. All right, so the next step is to say to yourself, what's the opposite of multiplying a variable by 3? And that would be to divide by 3. We do that on both sides of the inequality. The 3's cancel out. In other words, they equal 1, and 1 times b would give us b. We'll copy that inequality symbol, the greater than symbol, and let's do 6 divided by 3 and get 2. Now, a lot of you are going to fall for the 2 and say, oh, there's the answer, and you're going to pick it. But guess what? If I substitute in the value for 2 and for b, 2 is not greater than 2, so that's not a solution. So let's put it on a number line to see what might be on a solution. Always graph your inequalities to help you understand what out of the choices would be ones that you'd pick. All right, so we're going to go ahead and graph 2. And we're going to say to ourselves, b is greater than 2. So 2 is not part of the solution, so we're going to do an open circle. And we're going to graph going this way, because all the values that we're going to pick have to be greater than 2. Now look at the choices here. Which ones of these would be greater than 2? So don't pick things that are less than 2. That's not going to be right. You want to pick numbers that are greater than 2. Don't pick 2, because 2 is not greater than 2. Now if there had been the little line underneath it and the symbol instead had been this, and that symbol had been there all along, then 2 would be a solution also, because it would include the 2. But when you don't have that or equals part of the symbol, then don't include that. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. Stretch it out, make it a little bit bigger. And let's rewrite it because it's a little small. We have 5n plus 5 is greater than 35. All right, so our standard protocol is to look for that add or subtract value that's on the same side of the equation as the variable. Here's the variable. We're going to start with doing the opposite of add 5, which is subtract 5. And all of this will cancel out. Let's write down what we have. We have the 5n. We have the greater than symbol. And then this minus this would give us 30. All right, so when we get to this point, 5 times some number is greater than 30. What's the opposite of multiply a variable by 5? It would be to divide by 5. This all cancels out. It equals 1. 1 times n is n. So n is going to be greater than 6. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Now 6 is a choice, but we're not going to pick it because this isn't an equal sign. It's an inequality sign. So let's make a graph to help our brains process it. Let's put a 6 on our number line. And when we think about numbers that are greater than 6, 6 is not included. We're talking about numbers that are greater. Anything that's to the right of 6 on a number line. Now, which of these numbers would be to the right of 6 on a number line? Because it wouldn't be 6. Pick those. Now, pick more. There's more than one answer. Remember, so select all that apply. All right, and I think that's it. That's all of them. So good luck finishing this up.